The morning my world nearly shattered started the same way every peaceful morning in our quiet cul-de-sac did, to soft sunlight, birds in the pecan trees, and my wife humming some old lullaby while rocking our newborn daughter, Aria, on our front porch swing. Aria was only 6 weeks old, tiny, warm, the kind of delicate creature that made you rethink everything you thought you knew about strength. My wife, Emma, whispered to her, "Daddy's coming home early today, little star," brushing a hand across Aria's soft brown hair. I was inside, finishing a quick call about a sentencing order that needed review. Because yes, what no one in the neighborhood knew, including the tyrant who would try to destroy my life that day, was that I was the sitting session court judge for the county. But being a judge doesn't change diapers, wash bottles, or warm up formula at 4 a.m. I was just dad at home. Husband. Man in sweatpants. If only that was the version of me Karen had met. Because the version she triggered was the one people in courtrooms whisper about. Emma called out, "Honey, can you grab the baby blanket from the living room?" I grabbed it and stepped outside. And that's when I saw her. Karen. The tyrant of our HOA. The kind of woman who looked like she chewed complaints for breakfast and spit out citations for lunch. She was marching down the sidewalk so fast her little dog was practically skiing behind her. She stared at our porch swing with an expression that could curdle milk. "Emma," she shrieked. "You can't breastfeed on the porch. It's public indecency." Emma wasn't even breastfeeding. Aria wasn't even eating. Karen was just Karen. Chaos in yoga pants. Emma, staying calm, said, "I'm feeding her a bottle." She lifted it gently. "Look." Karen didn't look. Karen never looked. Karen only reacted. "Well, it looks like indecency," she said. "You're violating HOA public view regulations. Babies and breasts and whatever you people do." I stepped in. "Karen," I said, voice steady, "she's just rocking the baby. There's nothing indecent here." Karen pointed at me with the brittle authority of someone who's never actually had authority. "You people think rules don't apply to you. I run this neighborhood. I will not be disrespected in my own HOA." Her dog growled. Aria whimpered. Emma tightened her hold. My jaw clenched. But I stayed calm. Because I had a newborn. And a wife. And peace to protect. I wish Karen had done the same. Emma stood up. "We're going inside," she said softly. "We're not dealing with this today." But Karen stepped in front of the steps. No one walks away when I'm talking. I moved to stand between them. "Karen. Move." She didn't. Instead, she reached into her oversized purse. For a moment, I thought she was grabbing her phone to take pictures. Or maybe an HOA citation pad. She carried one like a deputy carries a gun. But what she pulled out wasn't paper. It was a can of pepper spray. Bright orange. Large. Military grade. My blood turned to ice. "Karen," I warned, "you will back up right now." But Karen was already screaming, "A baby that loud is a nuisance. And you people don't follow rules." "What rules?" Emma cried. "She's a 6-week-old baby." Karen raised the spray. Everything slowed. Emma froze. Aria started to cry, small, confused, innocent. I lunged forward. "Stop." But Karen pressed the trigger before I could reach her. A stream of pepper spray shot toward Emma's chest. But because Emma turned quickly to shield Aria, the mist hit right above the baby, light but enough to irritate her tiny skin. Aria's cry went from soft to sharp, piercing, terrified. Emma gasped, "Oh my God, my baby." My vision tunneled. Not from the spray. From rage. I grabbed Karen's wrist and ripped the spray from her hand. "What have you done?" I growled. Karen jerked her arm back, trying to reclaim the can. "You shouldn't have brought a screaming baby outside." She broke the HOA noise ordinance. I was defending myself. You pepper-sprayed airborne irritant on a newborn infant. I shouted. That's assault. Karen scoffed. You can't assault a baby, they don't count. And I'll call the HOA board. They always side with me. Emma was crying, holding Arya, who was now wailing from the sting, her tiny face red. I turned to Emma. Inside. Now. Wash her skin, cold water, not warm. Go. Emma ran inside. Karen opened her mouth again. But this time? I wasn't listening. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, dialed a number I rarely use outside the courtroom. The number for the sheriff's office emergency judicial line. Karen barked, "Oh, calling the cops? I know all of them. They love me." I locked eyes with her. "I'm not calling the cops," I said quietly. "I'm calling your judge." Her eyes widened. "What? You assaulted a newborn. You're going to jail today." She laughed, high-pitched, delusional. "You can't do that. I know the law better than anyone here. Who do you think you are?" I stepped closer. Close enough for her to hear every syllable. "I'm the session court judge who signs every arrest warrant in this county." Silence. Real, heavy silence. Karen's face drained of color. You're lying." I showed my badge. She stumbled backward. And for the first time since she moved into our neighborhood. Karen was speechless. 5 minutes later, yes, 3 sheriff SUVs turned onto our street. Lights flashing. Engines roaring. Deputies stepping out with purpose. Not guns drawn. But definitely ready for trouble. Deputy Morales, a man I'd personally sworn in, approached me. "Judge Hartley," he said, nodding. "We got your call. What's the situation?" Karen burst forward. "Officers. Arrest them. That baby was violating the noise rules. I was protecting." Morales held up a hand. "Ma'am, step back." She didn't. She jabbed a finger at him. "This neighborhood is mine. I order you to." "Ma'am," Morales cut in, "turn around." "For what?" "For assault with a chemical agent. On an infant." Karen's jaw dropped. "That's not a real crime." Morales looked at me. "You want to add resisting?" Karen shrieked, "And no one touches me." She tried to run. 2 deputies caught her in 2 steps. She screamed as they cuffed her. "You'll regret this. I'll sue everyone. I'll get you all fired." Morales leaned in. "Ma'am, the man whose baby you assaulted? He's the judge who signs our payroll." Her face collapsed. "I didn't know." Morales almost pitted her. Almost. He turned to me. "We'll take her in, Judge. Do you want emergency charges filed today?" I looked back at my front door. Where Emma was standing, holding our crying newborn, tears running down her face. "Yes," I said quietly. "Today." The sound of Karen shrieking faded as the deputies placed her in the back of the cruiser. But inside my home, the real sound that crushed my chest was the trembling, pained cry of my newborn daughter, Arya. I shut the front door behind me, and the moment the latch clicked, the weight of everything slammed into me. Emma was standing at the kitchen sink, gently patting Arya's face with a cool damp cloth, her hands shaking. Arya's tiny eyelids were red. Her cheeks irritated. Not severe, but enough to send any parent straight into panic. Emma whispered, her voice breaking, "Is she going to be okay?" I moved behind her and wrapped my arms around both of them. "Yes. Morales called EMS already. They're on the way." Emma nodded, but I could feel her trembling beneath my hands. She could have hurt her eyes. "She's so little," her voice cracked. "She didn't do anything wrong. We were just sitting there." "I know," I whispered into her hair. "And she's safe now. I'm here. When EMS arrived, they inspected Arya gently. "Good news," the paramedic said. "Minimal exposure." Her eyes weren't directly hit. She inhaled some irritant, but she'll recover. Emma exhaled a breath she'd been holding for too long and pressed Arya's forehead to her lips. But the relief didn't cool the fire in my chest. Because Karen had done something far bigger than breaking rules. She had laid a hand, no, a weapon, on my child. And this time, Karen wasn't bullying neighbors. She wasn't intimidating HOA board members. She wasn't pushing her weight around anymore. She had walked straight into the legal lion's den. And I was the lion. As the deputies took Karen away, the noise had drawn half the neighborhood outside. Phones out. Whispering. Camera lenses glistening. The rumor mill already grinding. And then, right on cue, 3 members of the HOA board hurried toward the scene like anxious pigeons. The board president, Tim, a man who always looked sweaty even in winter, stammered, "Judge Hartley. We had nothing to do with this. We didn't tell Karen to." I turned. "Tim. Do not speak unless I ask you a question." He froze. Board member number 2, a woman named Janelle, nervously clutched her clipboard. We want to apologize on behalf of the HOA. There is no apology for chemical assault on a 6-week-old infant," I said coldly. Tim swallowed. "We understand. But please understand, Karen practically runs the HOA. She's not on the board." "No," Janelle admitted, "but she bullies everyone on it. No one wants to challenge her. She files complaints every week. Threatens lawsuits. Calls police for violations." I stared at them. "And you let her run wild?" Tim wiped sweat from his upper lip. "She scares people." I leaned forward just enough that he felt the weight of my stare. "I sign arrest warrants for actual criminals. You let a suburban tyrant bully you into compliance." He wilted like a dying plant. "And now you know," I said, "that your silence helped her believe she had power." Janelle stepped forward. "Judge, is she going to jail?" "Yes." "For how long?" "As long as the law allows." Their eyes widened. "And the HOA?" I said. "Consider yourself suspended until we finish the investigation." "As suspended?" Tim gasped. "You permitted hostile behavior, ignored harassment complaints, and allowed an unhinged woman to become the de facto dictator of your board." "Yes." "Suspended." Janelle squeaked like a mouse. "What happens now?" "Now," I said, "I take over the investigation." While EMS cared for Arya and Emma tried to calm down, Morales texted me. "Judge, you need to see this. She's losing it." I arrived at the sheriff's office 10 minutes later. From down the hallway, I could already hear Karen's voice. "I know my rights. I know the law. You can't do this to a white HOA member." My jaw tightened. She tried to use the worst kind of entitlement as a shield. She still didn't understand the gravity of what she'd done. Morales opened the interview room door. Karen was pacing like a tornado shoved in a shoebox. Her hair messy. Her face flushed. Her eyes wild. When she saw me, she froze. "You," she hissed. "Me," I said, stepping inside. "You set this up," she spat. "You tricked me. You people provoked me. Your baby was screaming. That's a noise violation." "Pepper spraying a newborn is a felony," I said calmly. "She wasn't even hit." Karen snapped. "Just a little missed. Babies are resilient." My fist clenched. Morales saw it. He gently shook his head. "Karen," I said, voice controlled but razor sharp, "you used a chemical weapon within a foot of a 6-week-old infant. You put her in danger. You traumatized her mother." "I don't care," Karen shouted. "I am the HOA. I make the rules here. And yet, I said softly, you broke every rule of humanity. Karen's chest heaved. Her pupils darted around the room like trapped birds. Morales slid a paper onto the table. Here are the charges we're filing. Karen snatched the paper and read aloud. Assault with a chemical agent. Child endangerment. Harassment. Resisting. What is this? This, Morales replied, is what happens when you hurt a baby. Karen shredded the paper with her nails. This is illegal. I'll sue. I'll get the county fired. I stepped forward, voice lowering to a dangerous whisper. You want the truth? She glared. You didn't just pepper spray a baby. She blinked. You pepper sprayed a judge's baby. Silence dropped like a gavel. Her lips parted. She swallowed hard. I didn't know. And that, I said, is the only reason you're not facing attempted murder charges. She collapsed into the chair. Hands trembling. The weight of reality finally hitting her chest like concrete. Morales leaned in. You're going to jail today. No bail until arraignment. Karen stared at the floor. For the first time. She looked small. Powerless. Insignificant. Exactly what she made everyone else feel for years. By the time I returned home, the street looked like a neighborhood meeting had exploded. Everyone was out. Everyone was whispering. Phones were scrolling. Screenshots and videos spreading like wildfire. Our neighbor Linda approached me first. Judge, we are so sorry. Karen has bullied us all for months. We were afraid to speak up. Not anymore, I said. One man stepped forward. Oliver, retired veteran. Sir, she once pepper sprayed my dog. I didn't report it because she said she'd get the HOA to fine me. My jaw locked. She did what? Oliver nodded. She threatened everyone. You didn't see the half of it. Then came Jessica, the teacher. She told my son he wasn't allowed to draw chalk on the sidewalk because his art was too loud. Then Mark. Karen cut my rose bushes because she didn't like the color red. Then Susan. She threw bleach over my lawn chairs because they were visually offensive. Then Oliver again, voice lower now. And Judge, she said some very ugly things about Emma behind her back. I stared at him. What things? Oliver hesitated. Personal things. Racist things. A bolt of rage shot through me. Just then, Emma stepped outside holding Aria, calmer now, bundled in soft blankets. When she saw the crowd, she froze. But everyone stepped back respectfully. Giving her space. Giving her comfort. Linda approached her. We're here for you. All of us. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Not from pain this time. But from support. From community. From the truth finally coming to light. For years, Karen had been a tyrant. A bully. A neighborhood dictator. And today? The dictator had finally dethroned herself. Once Aria was asleep upstairs, I opened my laptop and began drafting the paperwork. Emergency protective orders. Suspension notices. HOA dissolution inquiries. Child endangerment charges. Every sentence written with precision. Every paragraph weighted with law. Emma peeked inside. You're working, now? I looked up gently. Yes. For Karen? For everyone Karen has hurt, I said. This doesn't end with her arrest. This ends with the HOA rebuilt from the ground up. Emma came closer. You're not doing this because she hurt us. I took her hand. I'm doing this because she will never hurt anyone again. She smiled softly, laying her head on my shoulder. I love you, she whispered. And I love our daughter, I replied. And I love justice. At 11 p.m., just as I finished drafting the last document. There was a knock at my front door. Slow. Steady. Heavy. I opened it. And standing there was the entire HOA board, trembling, pale, and holding a stack of documents. Tim spoke first. "Judge, please don't dissolve the HOA." Janelle added, "We'll cooperate with any investigation. We'll remove Karen permanently. We'll testify. We'll submit documents. Just, please don't destroy the association." "What did you bring me?" I asked. Tim extended the stack with shaking hands. "Karen's history," he whispered. "All of it." Janelle nodded. Every complaint, every intimidation, every threat, every secret we were too scared to report. I stared at the stack. It was thick. Too thick. Emma appeared behind me, voice soft and cold. "This is just the beginning." I stepped aside. "Come in," I said. "Let's finish this." The next morning, I walked into the courthouse not as a father fueled by rage, not as a man seeking revenge, but as what the county trained me to be, a judge responsible for justice. And today, justice would be delivered to the woman who pepper-sprayed my newborn baby. The courtroom was packed. Neighbors. Reporters. HOA board members. Sheriffs. Even the mayor. Emma didn't come, she wanted to stay home with Aria, who thankfully slept peacefully through the night. But she squeezed my hand before I left and whispered, "Give her exactly what she earned." I kissed her forehead. I always do. Karen entered with 2 deputies flanking her. Gone was the self-appointed HOA tyrant with sunglasses and a dog stroller. She looked small. Hair disheveled. Face pale. Wrists cuffed. Her voice trembling as she sat down. She scanned the courtroom, then saw me sitting at the judge's bench. Her jaw dropped. You can't be my judge," she shouted, standing so violently the deputy had to hold her shoulder. The prosecutor, a woman named Rosa who'd been preparing child endangerment cases for 18 years, stood calmly. "Your Honor, the defendant is aware you are not presiding over this commitment hearing. Judge Reynolds will step in momentarily." True. I wasn't allowed to preside because I was the victim's parent. But I was allowed to attend, observe, and submit evidence under judicial protocol. Karen sputtered, "Then why is he here?" "He has a conflict. He hates me. He's out to get." Her voice cracked when Judge Reynolds walked in. An older judge with silver hair and hands that could silence any room. He sat, put on his glasses, and looked straight at Karen. "Ma'am, you are charged with assault with a chemical agent, child endangerment, harassment, and resisting officers. Do you understand these charges?" Karen swallowed. I didn't. I didn't know she was his baby." Reynolds raised a brow. "So had it been another baby, your actions would have been acceptable?" Karen froze. "No, I mean, she was screaming, maybe the mother was indecent." Rosa stepped forward. "Your Honor, the defendant pepper-sprayed within 1 foot of a 6-week-old infant's face." The room gasped. Karen shouted back, "I was defending myself." Reynolds tapped his gavel once, just once, and the entire courtroom fell silent. "You attacked a newborn," he said coldly. "Your defense stops here." Karen sank into her chair. One by one, the HOA board took the stand. Tim. Janelle. Oliver. Susan. Even neighbors who'd never spoken out before. Their testimonies painted a horrifying pattern. Karen threatened homeowners with fake citations, she harassed children, cut neighbors' bushes, threw bleach on lawn furniture, pepper-sprayed a dog, stalked Emma, tried to access private backyards, used racial slurs, filed 60-plus bogus complaints, carried pepper spray to control neighbors, told people, "I own this neighborhood, the HOA is mine." Each testimony tightened the noose around Karen's behavior. Each witness added weight to her downfall. Karen sat frozen, mouth ajar, eyes darting helplessly. This is all lies," she whispered. But her voice lacked conviction. Deputy Morales testified next. His voice steady, official. The defendant was combative. She resisted arrest. She shouted racist slurs. She attempted to intimidate my deputies by claiming she controlled the county. Karen screamed, "I do control the county." The room groaned. Even the bailiff face-bombed. Reynolds banged his gavel. "Ma'am, another outburst and I will hold you in contempt." Karen slammed back into her chair like a stubborn toddler. When my name was called, the courtroom quieted so completely that I could hear my own heartbeat. Judge Reynolds addressed the room. Due to conflict, Judge Hartley will testify only. He is not presiding. This testimony is permitted by the Attorney General's office. I walked to the stand. Every camera turned toward me. Not because I was a judge, but because I was a father. Rosa asked, "Judge Hartley, what did you see?" I breathed slowly, the image still like a knife in my mind. I saw Karen point pepper spray at my wife and infant. The room tensed. She activated the can. The mist hit my daughter's face and chest area. My daughter cried hysterically. My wife panicked. It was chaos. "And how old is your daughter?" 6 weeks old. A murmur rippled through the crowd. "And what happened after?" I intervened. I retrieved the spray. I called law enforcement on the judicial line. I instructed deputies to arrest her on the spot. Karen scoffed loudly. "You acted like a monster. You're abusing your power." I turned toward her. Dead calm. "You're lucky I acted as a judge and not as a father." The room fell silent again. After testimonies, Judge Reynolds removed his glasses, rubbed the bridge of his nose, and sighed heavily. "Defendant, please stand." 2 deputies helped Karen shakily rise. Reynolds spoke slowly, every word slicing the air. "Karen, your actions were dangerous, reckless, and malicious. You endangered a newborn infant. You terrorized an entire neighborhood. You weaponized the HOA. You abused every shred of social power you thought you held." Karen trembled. Reynolds continued. "I hereby sentence you to." The entire courtroom leaned forward. 9 months in county jail, 3 years probation, mandatory anger management, HOA ban for life, and no contact orders with the Hartley family and all testifying neighbors. Karen collapsed into her chair. "No, no. No. I can't go to jail. I have a pet sitter coming today." Reynolds replied dryly, "Your sitter will need to visit county lockup." Karen screamed. The courtroom erupted. The deputies carried her out as she wailed. "I'm the HOA. You can't do this to me. I'll sue everyone." The doors shut behind her. And for the first time in a long time, the neighborhood was quiet. Peaceful. Free. That evening, after the courthouse emptied, I returned home. Emma was in the nursery, softly rocking Aria under warm golden lamplight. When I entered, Emma stopped rocking. "How did it go?" she whispered. I knelt beside her, kissed her temple, and murmured. Justice was served. Emma closed her eyes with relief. And right then, Aria opened her eyes, looked up at both of us, and smiled for the first time. Emma gasped softly. I felt my chest crack open with warmth. Karen had brought fear into our home. Hate. Danger. But she had also caused something else. She made our family stronger. United. Purposeful. And as Aria smiled, tiny but bright, I whispered to her. You never have to be afraid, little one. Not in this home. Not in this world. Not while your father is still breathing. Emma leaned her head against mine. And in that small nursery, in that quiet house, in that once terrified neighborhood, we finally had peace. Real peace. The kind no HOA tyrant could ever destroy.